Welcome to the Breakthrough to Your Best Success online event. Join your host, Elizabeth Hamilton-Guarino, and the contributors from the Success Guidebook and other special guests to visualize, actualize, and amplify you and your best success. This conference will help you redefine success, transform your goals, embrace change, design and realize your best life, and much more.
Everybody, welcome back. We're just putting the finishing touches on ourselves.
Hello.
Back on. Hey, Amy, Lyle, how are you? Welcome everybody to the Breakthrough to Your Best Success Summit. We're here with comedian Amy Lyle,
hello from Atlanta.
Yeah, hello from Maine, everybody. So yeah, I just got done cleaning the garage.
Yeah, Elizabeth looks like that in 5 minutes.
Yeah, Amy goes, "Are you coming?" And I'm like,
to looking like that in 5 minutes.
I'm in the
this
garage.
Took an hour.
Hair up on top of my head and shorts on, and and she's like, "Well, we got to kind of do this today." I'm like, "Yeah, we do have to do this today. So hang on, give me 10 minutes."
She's
this
not
is all I got.
Pants. Elizabeth's not even wearing pants. She didn't have time.
Oh no, I have pants on, I swear. But anyway, yeah. Oh wow, yeah. So success, right? Success is the lipstick on, the hair sort of done, and here we go, right? Showing everybody hello and
behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
That's what this is all about. The behind the scenes of success.
I think that's really what the book is all about.
That is exactly what the book is about.
Helping us all feel like we are not alone in our total chaos and confusion. And
there's purpose.
Not enoughness.
We're going to talk about not enoughness.
Here we are, aren't we? All right. So, my beautiful friend. So Amy Lyle has written the last chapter, well, the last contributing section of the last chapter of the book. And I remember approaching you going, "Do you want to take the whole back half of the book and make it funny and lighten us up a little bit and all this stuff?" And I was reading the audiobook into, audiobook format in Boston. And I'm like, my goodness, Amy Lyle, your story is it's so real to me. I'm sure other people are going to feel it because it's like at every twist and turn, it's like, oh, roadblock. And then another roadblock, and then something funny happens, and there's llamas involved, and yeah,
exactly. And you know what? I remember when you called me because I was down in South Georgia, and I remember thinking, this is so embarrassing and humbling, so embarrassing. I remember thinking, oh, I would love to do that. I would love to help Elizabeth. I would love to help her. And then all this came together. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. This is helping me. This is helping me. How could I even for 1 minute?
You helped me too. So you were, we've gone back and forth with the book. Like, does this section suck? Is this okay? Add this, add that. And so you've been a huge help to me too. So I'm really grateful for you.
Well, you're from a heart person. So there were some parts I'm like, you got to get back in there and do the heart. Cause that's what people love and need. They need that.
Yeah, no. Okay, so let's talk about your story in the book. We'll just start there. What did you write about? Why did you write about it? And what are you helping to kind of show other people?
Well, I wrote the chapter in the book about writing the screenplay and trying to get this female-centric screenplay that's going to bridge the gap between working moms and stay-at-home moms out, a full feature film. And the whole story is I couldn't get anyone to represent me. And then I finally got someone to represent me. And then the hashtag boycott Georgia film came up. And so I had Hollywood money, and then I lost it. And then I couldn't get more representation. And then I got representation again. And this was years later. And she's like, could you turn it into a sitcom rather than a full feature? And I was like, I'll turn it into a maxi pad commercial. I don't care. Let's get this going. And so then I turned it to a sitcom, and we've sat through many Hollywood meetings where it's like, we love it. We love this story, and bring to light the funnier side of being a stay-at-home mom, the funny side of being a working mom, but the real problems of that. But the truth is everybody's trying to do the best for their family and presenting that in a funny way. And then all these Hollywood meetings, and they're like, we love it. We're going to get the biggest director and producer. And then you never hear from them again. perfect fashion. So the whole thing, like people joke about, let's have a meeting, lots of meetings. And so, but along the way, which I didn't appreciate, was all these other beautiful things happening in my life that I know when we're going to continue this interview, I kind of have a story about that. But there's all these things I wasn't appreciating that were happening along the way that the screenplay kicked off, that I didn't feel successful because I couldn't get to the finish line with that screenplay.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do? Do you feel successful now? I'm
working on it.
Frustrating, isn't it? Sometimes I think no matter what we do, we don't feel successful. Exactly. It is the most frustrating feeling ever. And one day you're like, okay, I'm successful. And the next day you're like, oh, I'm not. And then you're successful again. And then you're not.
And if you're wired like I am,
yeah,
that's really hard for me.
Yeah.
I'm very wired by, I'm saving some of my answers, Elizabeth, because
we're going to go. Yeah. Yeah. No. Okay. So Amy Lyle, last part of the book, I won't throw out, there is a llama involved and all sorts of stuff. So
there is a llama involved. That was really fun.
Yeah.
On the cover, someone suggested a llama. They saw a therapy llama visiting hospitals. Like, wouldn't it be fun to have a llama on the cover of my second book? Because it was a collaborative book. And so I had a group of girls on the front, a group of ladies on the front of the cover, and a bunch of ladies on the back. And I said, well, that would add an element of fun. And so they're like, yeah, you can get a llama for 1 hour for $5,000. And I was like, how about 10 minutes, 500? And they go, okay. And the llamas, there were 2 llamas. They're actually on their way to South Georgia to be in a Marvel film. Oh my gosh. And so they showed up like a handler. And then long story longer, a girlfriend of mine that's in marketing took the beautiful photographs of the llama, and she used that software to make the llama talk. And we hired this great voiceover guy that made him sound Peruvian. Alpacas are from Peru, apparently. And he says all these funny things like, I love this book and I love you so much. And this book will make you pee your pants. And he has like 30 different sayings. And I kind of became famous. Like the llama became famous. Like people started sending me like llama pants, llama socks, llama pictures, all this stuff, because it was like a really good marketing campaign that my girlfriend thought of. And it was so fun.
Yeah. No, it sounds fun. So,
yeah.
So we've got
I'll show the llama. Yeah, people think it's photoshopped, but it's not. See him? People say, oh, that's Photoshop, but it's not. It's not Photoshopped. Yeah. That's really him. Actually, it was a lady. It was a lady.
Was your llama nice?
Not really. Like in this shot, the handler is laying down on the floor with the rein, and the same for this shot. And it didn't bite anyone or spit, because it's an alpaca. I think the llamas kick.
Alpaca, llama, whatever. Yeah,
it's a kicker.
The kick.
It would randomly do like a hiya, and so we gotta.
So were you guys like this? Did at any point were you like, this isn't working? We need a cat or a dog? Or...
No, I thought this is, and everybody was recording on their phones. And so all those people were putting that out. Hey, we're at the photo shoot for the We're All Mess It's Okay book. Look, we had a llama like it, and people shared it. So even the funniest, worst parts worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's success you can't plan for, and success that just is. So I love it. Yeah, it just is.
I think that's success. People are like, why would that be successful?
It is.
You had to be there.
You had to be there. Anyway. All right. So, okay. I'm asking everybody these same 5 questions, and we're going to.
I didn't mean to rush you. I just worked really hard on these questions.
I know you did. And I have to confess something. So I never read anybody's answers. People send
okay, good.
All the answers. I'm like, I don't want to know yet until I'm talking.
That's like me. I won't watch the preview to a movie. I know how you feel. Okay.
I don't. So I wanted to type the email back and go, I didn't read this. And I'm like, she'll find out. All right. So the Success Guidebook examines success in new and redefined ways. How has your perspective and pursuit of success evolved through your life?
Okay, I did get permission from Elizabeth. I'm Irish. I like to tell a story. So I'm going to tell 2 little stories for the questions. So I was raised in, which I think a lot of people can relate to, a survival of the fittest type household. And that squishes you like a dime, squishes you like a lump of coal, right? And it produced some traits in me that some of the traits sound like sought after job attributes. It's like tenacity, self-starter, results driven, but then also being in a pressure cooker type, violent, to be honest with you, type household also produces traits in me that sound like potential side effects of a new pharmaceutical. It's like maybe prone to obsessing about results, may exhibit controlling behaviors. So, but as you know, because you were in corporate America for many years, the combination of that is a really good combination for corporate America because it's very numbers driven. It's very metrics, gross margin, new sales, national sales ranking.
Yeah.
So
unless you're competing against you for something.
I am competing. Yes. And okay, so as soon as I hit one goal, the good side or the downside is once I hit one goal, then like we were talking about earlier, I felt successful for 1 second.
Yep.
And then I'm already trying to get to the next goal. And so I was climbing the ladder I was like a decade in, climbing the ladder at one of the biggest staffing companies in the world at a director level. And I had already mapped out my next decade, already mapped it out, keep climbing. And 2008 hit. And if for people that don't remember, 2008, the S&P dropped by 57%.
Yep.
And during the late 2008 to about the middle of 2009, 700,000 Americans were getting laid off every month. And it was horrible. And I work for a staffing company and they ain't no staffing going on. There was no staffing. People were just laying off. Our clients were calling us like, oh my God, I'm getting laid off. I'm getting laid off. And it rocked my world because my idea of success and how my idea had shaped about success was really about the metrics. And I really thought if I work hard enough and I achieve enough and I have enough money and stuff, I will be enough. And so there I was, and I didn't have a job. And I love how you talk about this in your book about you have to operate regardless of where you are from a place of enoughness. And I'm really working on that.
I remember getting my first job when I was 20 going, okay, by the time I'm 30, I'm going to make $5 million and or whatever it was, just ridiculous things. And just always being metric focused. And when the metric is met, then it's a higher metric. It just constantly.
It's very difficult to rewire that.
Yeah. And it's hard too, because some things require that.
Yes.
For example, if we put a book out into the universe, it's sort of required to sell. Or you won't.
It is. And there's a lot of, there's a lot of, and it takes tenacity to market it. And some people aren't ready for that. You get a lot of no's as a salesperson, and you were a salesperson too.
Yeah.
I might reach out to 10 people a day when I first published my book and get 1% return, but one of the returns was the New York Times. I got a shout out in there. So it's just like sometimes people get so depressed with the marketing part of it, but like, you can't think of it that way. It's it is a numbers game. And luckily we're wired like that,
and I think too, if you're wired like that, it's hard to change that wiring and ignore yourself a little bit. So I think it's really important to surround yourself with friends who go, "You're doing that again."
Yes.
Calm down. Let me give you a hug and let me help you be successful, or let me point you in a different direction, or, hey, I've got an idea. I know you do that with me a lot. You're like, let's do a book launch. I'm like, oh God, that is just what I needed to take that pressure off of me.
Well, that's so funny because when I read your book, I was like, she doesn't suffer from any of this. She's so mellow. She's so calm about every single thing. And I just thought that came from inside of you, that inherent knowing that you're enough. I thought that because I knew that you did have a fabulous childhood, great childhood. It's tricky, some tricky things in your childhood, but that's what I thought that stem from. So that makes me feel sad because you're obsessive like me, but it makes me feel happy that we're in the same group. I think when people read this book, they are suffering from that as well.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we teach what we need to learn the most.
Yes.
And
Oh, I like that.
I think that's a really big factor in this. I don't think I do that so much anymore, but if I was putting this book out in my 20s, I would be knocking over everybody left and right to get it to where it needs to go. And I'm much more calm and focused and so forth. So I think things happen as I'm almost 55. And so, yeah, I've mellowed out over the past 20 years considerably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about. And hopefully
Yeah.
somebody won't have to be like us, Elizabeth, where it takes them 20 years or 30 years to mellow out, that hopefully they'll be inspired.
Yeah.
I know they're going to be inspired
Yeah.
that it's okay. And I just love it. So they're going
And
to be
I
inspired
never
not
always
to.
had that. I think to go to your point though, I think I have always had that feeling of, okay, no matter what I'm going to do, I'm doing my best. And that's kind of where Best Ever You comes from. Sort of like a track meet. You're always trying to, you're only competing against yourself most of the time in a track meet, unless it's like a group event or, the overall result. But every time somebody steps out to do, a 400-yard, whatever, you're trying to constantly best yourself. And that's it.
Yes.
Other people that you're racing against, but most of the time it's, how did I do?
Yes. I
Exactly.
was a ranked swimmer, so I definitely relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being a race fan.
So how have you redefined success for yourself along the way? Like, what are some of the things that you've done to?
Okay, speaking of being in your 20s, my next story, I'm going to share, switching gears. We talked about this earlier. I wrote a screenplay, a few years ago, and that opened up, it didn't immediately open doors. In trying to, and networking my way to get that made, some things came about that launched some other things. For example, I wrote a book, it did well. I wrote another book that did really well. I started writing for a magazine. I started being asked to do speaking engagements. And I'm not saying these happen by accident. I'm saying when you're trying to promote something, then you're out there and then some good things happen. I got invited to be in a couple movies. I got invited to do a TED Talk. And then eventually I landed on an Atlanta morning show, which was so fun for several years. And then the dream job came. I just couldn't believe it, where I got invited to host a show for a great brand that I really liked and followed. Mm-hmm. And, they had millions of followers and they had the contacts, even some celebrities. And I was like, whoa! And there were red flags, Elizabeth, along the way. There were, but I was like, I was killing it.
Red flag blinders on.
Red flag blinders. And, I was booking these giant influencers, and those giant influencers knew other giant influencers and everything. And the giant influencers were inviting me and my co-host to come on their shows. Like, I could see it. It was working. Yeah. And they announced the show. We pre-recorded 10 shows, and then they announced the show across their platform. And then days before they released the first show, they submitted a lot of contract changes that was already signed. Mm-hmm. And when I was like, hey, this is a breach of this contract, they said, look, you need us way more than we need you.
Oh, that's different.
And so if you want to move forward, so, if I was in my 20s, I might have been like, this is the biggest opportunity and look at the exposure I'm going to get. But being older, I was like, this is not my idea of success. If I acquiesce to every one of these that are in your favor and not mine, and I'd already put in a lot of time and effort, but we're not going to be able to move forward. And so I walked. I did cry when I walked. I was crying. I walked and then I cried and cried and cried. But, that was the right decision to make. And it can't be one-sided or exploited. That's not success. Success is not exploiting somebody else.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I've had moments like that too, where you feel like you finally got it. And then you're like, oh, but I don't.
Oh yeah. And now I'm used to it. You think I'd be used to it from working in sales so long, but now I'm used to it in the entertainment business too, where you're like, you really need to ask the follow-up questions and dates. And I was scared of getting told no, but now it's just like, well, if they're going to tell me no, I'd rather know now than later. So you don't have to beat around the bush. Just be like, are you in or out? It's okay if you're not.
Yeah. And so how has that notion of success guided you through making decisions like that? Is that coming from that enoughness part? Like, I really don't need you more than you need me, or whatever, however that saying went. What was going on in your mind to make you say that, to bring that no to life?
I think it was an absolute breach. It really was. And it was dishonesty.
Yeah.
And it was just, apparent, like, who am I? Who would I be if I agreed to this?
Yeah.
I felt like I was, I needed my soul to be intact.
Yeah.
And I felt like,
sounds like you got a T-Swift story, kind of.
a T-Swift story?
Yes. It's like a Taylor Swift story.
Oh yeah, she could write a song about it. And then
we need
for sure. Yeah. It was really sad. And what the worst part of it was, I loved the team and I loved the work and I loved every single person. And one person got greedy.
Yeah.
One person got greedy, and they started slowly by saying, oh, we should have structured the contract this way. We should have done this. But you didn't. And you wrote the contract and we all agreed to it. And it was good. It was a very fair contract that everybody had skin in the game and everybody wins. And so they got really greedy. One person got greedy.
Yep. So I'm gonna bring you to the next question because it kind of fits with that. But it's sometimes we miss our goals or don't achieve the level of success we completely imagined. Can you remember a time where you had to persevere through this type of disappointment in life? You might have already answered that question with that story, but keep going a little bit.
Okay, so I am going to continue that story because that was, I was devastated. I really was devastated. And a friend of mine said, come on, you're going to get out there and you're going to get a better job and what are you going to do? You're going to go there.
Come on, Amy.
No, you did. You were encouraging me. This person was like, Chris Farley, the motivator from Saturday Night Live, down by the river. Are you going to get out there or are you just going to give up? And I gave up, but just for a short period of time, because I feel like getting a job is like getting a boyfriend, where you cannot get a job or a boyfriend if you are so obsessed and so bitter and so mad at the last boyfriend or the last job. I was so like, ah. And so I took time. I allowed myself to take some time off and to just reflect on things and mourn and be like, what would I do differently? And guess what came to light during that time? A lot of details about this brand coming out other places that's like, oh, thank goodness I did not move forward with them. And I'm going to share this with people that I am telling you, you lose a job or an opportunity or a relationship or even your dream job, time will reveal. If you allow yourself to mourn it, time will reveal why that wasn't for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about that a lot. When you really want something really bad and it's just not happening for you, I think you're just so being rerouted, just complete reroute. And there's always a reason. And it might not just be that instant or that second or that day or that week even, but eventually it'll be like, oh, this happened because that happened, and and it serves you better.
Yeah, and you may not.
I was just going to say we get scared though to reroute ourselves. Like it's a scary moment to say no, and not know what's going to happen next. So a lot of us oscillate between like, here's the known and here's the unknown, and we're going back and forth, trying to make the best decisions possible to be our best. Whether it's change, success, fear of it, whatever it is, we're going back and forth between known and unknown. And it's the unknown that trips us up. We know what's happening, but if I make this decision or change or whatever, what's going to happen?
Yes.
And that's what produces the anxiety, the fear, the everything.
And I say that's for relationships and
For everything.
opportunities.
Yeah.
For everything.
Everything.
It's like, well, at least I know what this is.
Yeah, at least but that produces stuck. When you're at least I know what this is, but I don't know what this is. If you're not willing to take some of those risks and so forth, you'll never know what is going to be for you.
Right.
So you've got to work with the reroutes. And
Yeah,
that's
and you can't just stop forever. I'm not saying you stop until you figure out it, like you said, may not be revealed for years.
Yeah.
But it will eventually be revealed.
Yeah, the other thing people do that I see over and over again is give up right there. They're just like, okay, I'm done and I'm going to go do something else or whatever. And they give up on their dream or their passion or whatever. And usually that's because it's usually a somebody, like over and over through the years in coaching, I hear, well, this person affected me this way. And they listened and let it go through every pore of their being and cell to listen to what this person negatively said to them so that they started to believe it and so forth instead of believing in themselves and rerouting away from the naysayer.
And I love your bubble wrap comment.
Yeah.
Oh, bubble wrap because
bubble wrap all day long.
Yeah, because you are going to bump up against people that are naysayers. I mean, they are, or they just want to twist it to their own experiences. And it's like, don't squash it.
Leave it alone. Yeah. Yeah. Every person you encounter, you're encountering that person to the point in their life and all their experiences too. So if their experiences haven't been positive or they're negative or whatever, and they're your coach or your mentor or whatever it is, it can be really tricky.
Yeah. And anchor.
Yeah. So I love to anchor people in their power, those moments where you've had some success and you can go back there and go, I can do this. I know how to do this. And then put the action steps toward it. It could be like 1 action or 5 actions that you take every day to propel you in the direction of where you're going with the ability, like we were talking earlier, to navigate that no.
Yeah. And you will. And you will. Because that's perseverance.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So I hope this helps people because, you're in the chapter about celebrating your success and so forth. And sometimes it's really hard to celebrate when we aren't understanding that we need to celebrate the small moments. We're looking for that giant, the book sold 5 million copies and it's been translated into 100 different languages and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. It just helped one person. Okay, we're successful. So there's different levels of success. And so I love to help people. You celebrate enough small wins and you're on track.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know if that helps or not, but that
does. I think it does help.
So talk about comprehensive success, if you would, please, because I think people don't quite understand what that is. Sometimes we're in such a pursuit of something that we lose track of, the 5 other areas of our lives, like our health or our relationship. We're going after the almighty dollar or an analytic, and we're failing in multiple other categories. Can you talk about success as a multifaceted goal approach more comprehensively?
Yes. And I come to that from a point of there are times in my life that it was not multifaceted. It was a quota and this and a certain bonus and getting promoted. And there have been times where I've admitted I have an obsessive personality, and one little thing goes wrong at work, and it's like, my kids like me, my dogs love me. I have a nice husband. I've got to go interesting places in the world. I love to be on the tennis court with my friends and we laugh so hard we almost pee our pants. I like talking to you. You make me laugh. Like there's a lot of things in my life that are good, but because I had that one measurable, in my mind, failure or bump, I get so tied up in it. And a girlfriend of mine, I have a quote of yours in here too, Elizabeth, from the book. And a girlfriend of mine, Deborah Hawkins, she writes this blog called No Small Thing. And she was writing about, she was in Chicago and they had a particularly warm day, but it was going to be really cold the next day. And she talked about how this flower bloomed. And she's like, no, don't bloom. You're going to die tomorrow if you bloom today because it's so cold. And that was what the story's about. And she wrote, I wrote it down because I didn't want to mess it up. I'm paraphrasing, but she asks, how can we really fail to live our purpose? Yes, people might aspire to have different careers, talents, or objects, things, money, but through our experiences in bringing passion to whatever we do is fulfilling our purpose enough. And I love that. And you say it a beautiful way in the book too. You say there is an inherent value in pursuing your goals and living your purpose, regardless of the outcomes. And that's very hard for people like you and I to get that. Very hard. But it is true. Like when I read that in her blog and I read that in your book, which is so funny, just so you know, we didn't get to read the book really before. We were all piecing the book together at the same time. So some of it I didn't read till Elizabeth's books came out. As I thought about when I'm sitting down writing an article and researching it, I'm like in the zone. I'm so happy. When I am writing stand-up comedy, I'm so happy. When I get invited to be in films, even when they pay me in tacos, I'm so happy. And you know what? I don't know if any of those things are become wildly successful, but like that to me is success. That it's not just a result. So that profoundly made me rethink, because before I was just like finish line, finish line, finish line. So I hope other people can see that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. So I like that story and I love those quotes. So,
and if you hate it, every second of it, you're probably not doing the right job.
Yeah, I think it's tricky. Let's give some more advice out there. What do you think for people who are, and we're going to have to go here in a little bit so we don't run too long.
That's right. We only have one more question.
One more question, but what do you think about people who are stuck in their job and are feeling stuck and they are feeling unhappy? Let's go there for a minute to help people get unstuck.
Well, I don't know if they can get the passion back in their job or find something in their field that's maybe not the exact thing that they could get paid the most for. So it would be a logical switch. But a lot of people ask me this question. It's like, you can't quit your job and write books. That's really tough, the money. But you can write it at night and on the weekends. And you can be a movie extra on the weekends, and you can write a song and play in a band and do it on the weekends. So you can have something that's yours that you're really passionate about, and maybe it will become a career for you. But like, if you're, I understand you're paying the bills and you're like, I can't quit being a trial lawyer right now. I can't quit, being a physician, a cardiologist. But if you have something that's of yours on the side and have a little bit of balance, I think, I know it helped me. That helped me to do writing when I was working.
Yeah, great answer. Yeah, I love that answer. Okay, so the fifth question that we've been asking people, how does authenticity and integrity factor into achieving success and maintaining it? Difference between achieving and maintaining there as well.
Okay, I put our choices reflect authenticity and integrity in real time. It's not really something you can plan, like, I'm going to work with integrity today. I'm going to be it's something that you do that is in real time. And we've all seen prominent figures that we very much respected, either business figures or movie stars or whatever, that we have respected so much, and they're projecting one thing in public, and then you find out behind the scenes that they are scoundrels, like really bad people. And I used to think, and this goes back to kind of like the beginning of like, how have you evolved to what success is? I used to wonder, why would that person risk their success? Meaning their position, their fame, their money, their belonging. How would they risk? They have all that stuff. And now that I'm older, I'm like, why would they risk their reputation? How can they sleep with them? How can they sleep at night?
Yeah.
It's because it's not about that. It's like,
isn't it disappointing when you meet somebody and they are not what you think? That is probably the single most thing. It makes me afraid of people sometimes. I'm like, wow, I didn't know. Yeah, I've seen
it. It's shocking. And like I had a podcast for years, and the producers, that were normally interns or, college students from local colleges would come in and intern. And I'd come in and to sit down to do the interviews, and they'd have tears in their eyes. I'm like, what happened? And here somebody was yelling at them.
Yeah.
And then they get on my show and they're like, hi. And then they're so sweet. I'm like, wait a minute, so that, that's my answer to that question is like, you cannot, if your idea of success doesn't include acting with integrity and treating people fairly and trying to find a win-win, it's not that you can't be the boss. You're going to have to make hard decisions. But if you're not treating people with respect and acting with integrity and instilling that and grooming people and helping people also see that in their lives, it's like, now that I'm older and wiser, I don't see that as success at all.
Back to what's going on. So we're done with the questions. We're good. And I might add a little bit of that and stuff, but let's go back to, let's end on what you're doing next. Let's end on Amy Lyle's life. What's going on in your life right now? What have you got going on? The reason why I ask that is because I love it when people share goals and dreams, because we can show up for each other and help. So if somebody's listening and you still are trying to do that movie or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm so lucky to have representation for the female-centric comedy that's bridging the gap between working moms and stay-at-home moms, and would love to partner with somebody on that. I do have representation, so we'd love to find a producer that would have passion for that project as a feature film or as a sitcom. And I really am excited to, we have a media group in Atlanta that has like 11 magazines, and they want to be more digital. And so we're talking to them about doing a show for them to kind of bring their pages to life. And so I'm really, really excited about that opportunity. And I love hosting. And if somebody's in a situation where they want to bring their brand to life, I would love to be, invited as a host or a co-host for those types of opportunities.
Showing up is such a huge piece of the puzzle, isn't it? Trying different things, and even if it turns out to not be perfect or for you or whatever, you still have shown up in a way that might lead you down a different path. So
yeah, and like you, I mean, we're old school. It's like it never gets old to have you show up with snacks, and you show up with a good attitude, and you show up and you talk to every single person on set, and you show up and you say thank you, and you find out what other people are doing. And it's the whole sometimes I feel like the culture is very, very like, what's in it for me? We need to go back to like, this is an exciting opportunity. What can I learn today? And just take an interest in it, and good things will happen. And sometimes when I'm on these movie sets, there's, divas, men and women divas. And I'm thinking to myself, I would invite them back. I don't care how talented they are, like to make the group feel uncomfortable or be demanding or be late or, or whatever. It's just like, oh my goodness. And it is kind of a power play. You can tell when they come on set, they're not apologetic.
I was on a live radio show last night in drive time in Tennessee, and I followed a really picky, grumpy person.
Oh no!
And I'm sitting there. I'm sitting there for like 5 minutes in the queue listening, and I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to follow this? And I'm like, I'm just going to be me, because me is opposite of this.
Yeah, really should be yours.
Wow. Like, this should be really easy, because
follow me to the light. Follow me to the light.
That's exactly what it was. I'm like, well, I guess my job is to cheer everybody up after that. Oh my God.
You're like, step off the ledge. I'm going to bring you back.
Even the host was pissed. She's like, wow, what the heck just happened? And I'm like, well, I am here to give you a hug and bring us all some laughter and light and talk about success. And it was pretty funny. But anyway. All right. Well, I love having you here with us. Thank you for everything that you've done in the book. Thank you for everything that you'll do moving forward. I just love you, love you, love you. I wish we lived closer together. I get close to you when I go down into Myrtle Beach. This next year, I'm coming to see you, though. We're driving. I understand where I am now. I'm like, okay, I know where you are. I got you.
Well, I love you too. And I'm so proud of this book. And I love it. And I really think it's going to change people's lives. The Success Guidebook. And someone asked, I was watching an interview and someone goes, this is like a hard hitting. And you're like, no. This is a hug. This is a hug. That's
It's a hug from me to you. I always intend my books to be like giant hug from me to you all the time. I'm right here, and not only am I right here, but contributors like you are there too. That's why I think it's so important to have all those contributing stories in the book, because it's
Yeah.
people that have gone through it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're
Some
accessible.
heartbreaking stories.
There
in
are
there
some,
that
yeah.
that's how life is. And so what are you going to do when you get handed that? So I hope people buy it, and I know they're going to love it. And it's going to, if they get 3 things out of it, I think they're going to get 10, but if it really sticks with them 3 things, I think it's going to change their life.
Yep.
The better.
All right.
All right.
Lots of love. Thank you. Mwah.
Love
Bye.
you. Goodbye.
I love you too. Bye.